This conference will now be recorded.
Morning, sir.
Morning. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So let's get started. Okay, so yesterday we started a new topic, right? Docker. Now we'll take a next step into the Docker. We'll again review, revisit the things which we have discussed yesterday. I'll show you
Your
how.
volume is very low, sir. Your volume is very low.
Sorry. Sorry, is it okay now?
Yes, yes, it is okay.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, my mic was actually on top. No issues. Okay. So we have seen that, what is Docker and all those things, but I'll just quickly review some of these pieces which we have discussed yesterday and we'll take it from there. I'll show you how we can really install Docker and how to really run that in a remote environment. Okay. So again, when I talk about how Docker works, so we have three components of Docker. The first component is a Docker host, where we will be installing, like you need this host, a virtual machine, where on top of this you can really install Docker. Now there are two options which we can do. In Linux, it's very easy, very simple. You can just install the Docker and you can you can start up and running with that one. In case if you want to really run Docker inside Mac or Windows, okay, Mac or Windows, you need to really download one application which is Docker Desktop. The difference between these two applications is the in Ubuntu, that application is very lightweight because it's again just a daemon actually which is really sitting on, but on the Windows one it is very heavyweight because you need to really run all the details, and it also creates the environment as a Linux one, because everything is what we see here. It's a Linux thing, right? All command line interface. So for that, it needs to really prepare your Windows operating system. So once you install that on your local laptop, um, be ready to have a kind of like more resources, because that's an important thing, even though you are doing it for the testing purpose. Okay, so you can try both the things, right? It's also handy in case if you want to try out few things, you can really do that. But what I prefer is always go with the Ubuntu system and install that. I'll show you how we can really do, because it's very, very easy. It's very simple. Few commands and you are up and running. Perfect. Now, when we talk about Docker host, right? Docker host majorly consists of few services. One is the daemon, containers, and images, right? These are the three major services when we talk about. Now, daemon is the person or a service which is really interacting with your Docker client, and the only way to interact with the Docker is the Docker client. Okay, the CLI. Without that, you cannot really, do anything. You have to really run from this particular thing, and everything is a command base, right? You have to really run commands in case if you want to build any image, you want to pull any image, you want to run some Docker container, you want to delete Docker container, you want to delete images. Everything is a command line here, right? Without command line, uh, you can really cannot run that. But in case if you install Docker desktop, right? Because desktop will give you that flexibility where you can really run everything from the GUI basis, because it's also provide you a GUI, and then you can really run it from there. But again, as I said, GUI is not the best way. Okay, in a real world scenarios, nobody really uses a GUI majorly. Okay, even though from the monitoring perspective and all, that's fine. But when it comes with the development or deployment, nowadays the kind of like the inclination towards the all command line interfaces, the YAML files, the JSON files as a configuration, and that's what is majorly getting used, right? And we will also see in our course that how to use these services to really come up with the more concepts on that. Perfect. Now we have a Docker registry, right? And as you can see, we this is also a very important aspect of your Docker, because without registry you cannot really run anything, right? You have to have a Docker registry, which is again a very secured way. It's like a Git, right? For a Git is good for source code management system. It also provides you a lot of flexibility. Git repository is also one of the same kind of a component. The only thing is here, instead of code, you are putting a image. Okay, So you can do almost same thing, right? You can also do the good get the as you sorry Docker login. You can really run some commands where you can execute Docker push and Docker pull, and same thing like get push and get pull and all those things. So almost same thing, but there are few additional fields which we need to really add up, and some commands which we'll be seeing in this today's session. Perfect. So we have we can have actually multiple images which can be really stored inside Docker Hub. And Docker Hub is not just one service, right? As I mentioned, Docker is becoming a pioneer for everything. However, there are a lot of companies nowadays came up with their own registry. So we can also install ACR, and that's what something which we are going to see, that how to install ACR and how to push this Docker image to the ACR, right? Because that's what something which we'll be using, because ACR is more towards the Azure core service. Okay. um, all these cloud providers, what they are really doing is they have and nowadays, because there are a lot of open source applications which are really going up, so they are also coming up with their own open source own open source means the open source with the customized way of how they really want to manage it. So that's the service which they are providing, like Kubernetes also they are providing, right? Like web application underline Linux is working. Linux is a open source system, right? So all these technologies are really running getting running underlying using all these open source, but on the top layer Azure and Microsoft is really ensuring that the best practices which are really implemented on these technologies are there, and your data and your application is secure. Okay. So we can really have our own registry, but I'll also show you how we can really create the Docker Hub. Perfect. Now, once we are done with this one, there is one more component which is a Docker host. So how this network monitoring or network port management actually really happens inside the Docker is something which we have also discussed. I'll just give you a quick glance again. So when you have a Docker host, we can really run a lot of, and when we connect with the Docker client, right, we can also connect with the Docker Hub. But internally, if you see, there are multiple containers are running. Now, when you are running a container, how to really access these containers? First of all, every container will get an specific IP address. This is an internal IP address which is automatically get assigned as a part of your nurture network within the Docker host, and that will get created. So if you create hundreds of Docker containers inside the Docker host, they will automatically get one IP address, and they will also run it on their own respective application which you have really mentioned. Okay, so it might possible that your application is running on 80 port, or 80, multiple applications running on 80 port, or someone is 808081, someone is on 5000, because it's again a developer's choice that what they really want to run it. But ideally everything should really run on 80 port. That's a kind of like it's recommendation, but it might possible that the particular application might be running on a different port. That's okay, because you can easily manage that within the Kubernetes, within the Docker environment. Okay, how we really manage it, because even though they are running on a different ports, they will be having one single port which is assigned to your virtual machine, right? Ideally we know that there are a couple of uh, your IP addresses which get assigned to your virtual machine. One is a public IP address and another one is a private IP address, right? So in case if privately some other application is trying to connect to this virtual machine, like within that network, yes, they will be able to communicate using this IP address, the private IP address. But externally, if someone is to really connect to this application, they have to use the public IP address, right? Without that you cannot really use. And we can also port map that with the specific application. So say like in case if even though this application is running internally on 80 port, but I can map that with the 80 here. So both are 8080 here, right? So that means because on 80 I can only access one application from outside. I cannot access multiple application on the same application, same thing. There is an option, right? There is an option. Say like in case, and but for that you need to really implement some other mechanisms like load balancing, application gateways and all, which can internally then route it based on the path-based routing. So this is a port-based routing. There is another concept like a path-based routing. We will see that how that path-based routing really works out. It's nothing but say like you are login using xyz.com/application1, xyz.com/application2. So this slash becomes a path-based routing. Okay, so in case if you want to go to specific path, you can really go with that one. So that's the thing, but it's an advanced technology. We will see that in the later stages of this course, but right now we're talking about the port level mapping. So when we map it with the port, we can also map it like 81, for example. Here can be really connected to this application on 81 port, even though it's running 80. So I have to mention both the ports. I have to mention that what is the internal port and what is the external port, and then I have to provide the container name. I don't know how to provide the IP address. I just have to provide a container name, and I have to say that okay, hyphen p, or the port mapping, that which port I'm actually trying to connect to. So I'm saying okay, port 80 connecting to port 80, port 81 connecting to 80 port, port 82 connecting to 8081 port with this container, and port 83 is connecting to container 4 at the 5000 port. We'll see that as we move on, right? And then again, as I mentioned, you have only one IP address, and this one IP address can really map it to everything. But by default, right, whenever and you try to connect from outside, you can really connect on using these IP addresses. But by default, you will not be able to allow, because when you create a virtual machine, we have seen that, right? We have given only four choices: AT port, HTTP port, SSH port, and RDP port. And that too based on the operating system which we are really connecting with, correct? So if you remember, we have provided that information. Now that information is happened because of there is a firewall in between. Now what is the firewall? Firewall is a network firewall, generally which we call it as, which will ensure that which external entities should connect to your application or to your IP address. Okay, it's become one filter or one kind of like gate, okay, which will allow or disallow people based on the access they are really looking for. Okay, by default, what we do, by default, everything is disabled. And every company, every security concern, every security thing goes with a zero trust, right? I think I'm using this term many times nowadays. Zero trust. What is zero trust? Don't trust anyone unless you explicitly mention. So by default, everything is disabled. Okay, but when you're trying to connect, that time you can specify that okay, I want to enable only these many ports from this particular IP addresses I can allow, otherwise I will not allow. And we will see that in demo also, right? What is allowed and what is not allowed, and how can we really change that particular thing. So we'll see that. Okay, so this is what we are trying to connect here. We are going to install Docker host, we are going to run some application, we'll also see some commands which is really important to see the applications and everything. We will also expose some application ports here, and then we will also configure the network security group. So let's get started. Before that, let me check whether I'm recording this session or not. Yeah, I'm recording the session. Perfect. So let's go back to our portal. Okay, I'm going back. I'm going to open this and I'll say portal.azure.com. So for that, we are going to, first of all, I'm going to show you one more thing is a Docker desktop. Okay, this is also an application. So you can really run this application. You can install this application in your laptop, okay, and you can really run it. It's a simple deployment, development, or a kind of like implementation. You can just select which you want. You can download it for Linux or Windows, but Linux is again UI based, right? This is not the normal one, because Linux also gives you a UI. So if you have any UI based Linux operating system on your laptop, then you can really download this one, but otherwise Mac and Windows are the preferred one. Perfect. Okay, so first thing what we are going to do is we are going to create a new virtual machine. I'm going to create a new virtual machine here, and I'm going to create a Ubuntu virtual machine. Okay, always create a new resource group whenever you're going to create new demo, something like that. I'm going to say Docker, and then I'm saying demo. Okay, now I'm going to name it, say like VM Docker host. I'm going to select everything's fine. Ubuntu server is something which I'm really going with. x86 password based authentication. So I'm going to say Azure admin. Password. Perfect. And here you can see, right? It is allowing, asking me to only enable 4 ports or 3 ports. I'm just enabling 80 here, and then I'll show you how we can really enable the other ports here. Perfect. I'll click on here. Disk is fine. I don't want premium. I will go SSD, normal SSD. Okay, here also it's saying, okay, fine, no problem. I can really go with this. Networking. Monitoring, no, I don't want. Advanced is review and create. Now, meanwhile, when it is coming up, I will just give you one more detail here. One more things which we can really discuss is about. I want to delete all these things. So whenever you have these concept, right? As I mentioned that here, what I'm talking about is the communication. So whenever you run some commands, right? Whenever you say, okay, I want to pull some image, I want to push some image, I want to run a container, and you don't have an image on your local laptop, always, because it's a preferred Docker one, this host by default, this client, okay, will always connect to the Docker Hub registry, always, because this is the default registry which you have really configured. Unless you explicitly mention, okay, the registry names, and you create a separate registry name and you really assign that details to you. So always whenever you just provide a normal name, and that is why what happens, whenever you really pull one image, if I just pull a simple image saying that pull image, Docker pull image, name it something like nginx, okay, just example. Now when I'm really doing the nginx, that time if I'm not providing any difference, I'm just saying nginx, that's it will automatically assume that yes, I want to download it from the Docker Hub. But if you say that Docker Hub dot say like rk slash nginx, then it will understand that okay, I want to really pull it from a specific directory in the Docker Hub. Or if you have say like Azure CLI, ACR, right, Azure Container Registry, then you will have to provide the Azure Container Registry complete URL. Say like Azure rk Docker Hub demo dot azure dot io slash nginx, and then maybe the name of that particular image. Okay, so we'll see that. But just from one perspective, that whenever you really create, whenever you run any Docker command, okay, at least from the image perspective, if you try to pull or push, it will always consider that okay, you are trying to push it or pull it to the Docker Hub. Okay, let's see. So our resource is good. I'm going inside this one. I'll click on connect, select. Okay, I will copy this IP address and I'll open command prompt. So I open this command prompt. On this command prompt, I'm going to run some command, the same command, right? SSH, and then I'll just push the username as well as rate my public IP address, which is really provided to my virtual machine. I'll just say and say yes, and it is asking me password. I'm putting a password here. Perfect. Now, as a first command, I'm going to run sudo, right? Sudo apt update just to update my operating system. Okay. Here, and then I'm going to run a command sudo apt install docker io, docker hyphen io, or docker io, whatever you can really go with, docker hyphen io. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. Now let's run a command docker images or docker ps. Okay. What happened? Still introduced on. Okay, so we can now run docker ps. Okay, it will give you this error. Why? Because actually we have installed docker using a sudo command. Okay, that's why it is expecting that every time you will be running a sudo docker ps. Okay, but I don't want to really do that. What I want is, as a normal user ISO, I should be able to really run this particular command. So for that, we need to really provide a permission, or we have to make this particular file, okay, open for all the users on this particular device. So for this one, there is a command like chmod. So sudo chmod, and then 777 is the access actually which is you are really giving, so read write access to all the users. And then I just have to select this particular location and just paste it here. Okay, now if I run docker ps, I should be able to get some details here, right? If I run some docker ps command, docker command which is like images, and then I can really see the things. Now let's first of all go ahead and try to discuss few more details here, right? When we have now up and running our information, now I'm going to really create a new slide. Okay, and in this new slide we'll see how docker commands actually really run. Now there are few things which are really important when you are seeing this one, right? The first of all, as I mentioned, to run any application, okay, or to run any container, the first thing what you really need is an image, right? We have seen that in this particular diagram, that if you don't have an image, you cannot really run the container. It's as simple as that. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to run a commands which are really image specific. So every command will first of all start with docker. Every command, okay, that's the basic rule of any any CLI. Whenever you run a CLI, that CLI demands that you run it from the specific thing, right? That is one thing. Now after that one, there are some services which you really can run. Now services is could be something like, okay, docker, and then I can say docker images, right? Images is the another command, because I have few things here, right? What all things I have in the docker? I can have images, I can have containers. Okay, so I can really run it something like a docker images, docker container. Docker ps is also similar to container, okay, which is really giving you all the information about the containers only. These are basic few commands actually which you can really run. And then there is an important command which is docker run. Okay, now with these commands, right, basic commands, when you talk about, there are some variations for this one. So what you really want to do, so you want to first of all image, when you talk about images, you can have a sub command for this one. which can be something like pull, okay, push, or RMI. Now Docker RMI can really remove this one. So when you talk about these are self-explanatory commands, right? When you really want to pull any image, you can really pull the image. But after that one, you always have to give a variable for that one. Every command really requires a variable or a parameters. Okay, for this one is definitely nothing but a image name. So when you talk about one, so I'm just putting up in case in this. So this option is always give you that this is a parameter we need to really provide. So you need to provide an image name here. Same thing, you need to really provide the image name here. There is one more thing which we can really go with or important. Let me make it a little so I can have more commands here. Okay. Then okay, so you have image, you can really pull the image, you can push the image, you can remove that image, whatever, in case if you don't want to remove that, you can really remove that image. Now the second thing is a container. You can create a container or you can really run, you can see the container, but that running the container is using the docker run command. What you can really do is you can list the container, so ls. You can remove the container, okay, you can start the container, and you can stop the container. Perfect. All these, let me make it a little bigger so you can really see that, right? So all these commands you can really run. So in case if you don't, if you want to run anything, you have to start with docker container ls, docker container rm, stop, start. But again, you have to provide what you really want. Ls you don't want to really provide anything because ls will give you all the information. Okay. But in case if you want to see all the containers, that also you can really see. RM is again, if you want to run remove any container, you have to give a container ID, because every container will get a container ID. They will automatically get assigned. Start again container ID. So you have to provide a container ID. These are some of the commands which require these parameters. Again, stop, you have to provide a container ID. Okay. Now PS is almost same. But when you talk about PS can also use by hyphen A. So hyphen A is also a command actually which can be used to show all the containers which is really running. Now what happens in case if you run just Docker PS? Only Docker PS will show you, only Docker PS will show you all the running containers. All the running containers, only running containers. No stop container. In case if you have already stopped any container, it will not show you. But in case if you run a docker ps hyphen okay, then it will show you all the containers, including failed, okay, or stopped and failed. In case if you have tried to create some container, and could be scenario could be like, you are saying that okay, run this particular container, there is some problem with your configuration or your image, then your container will not get up, it will not get running. So in that context, you will also not able to understand that what is really happening with that container. So you can also get some details about that particular container. So you can describe that container, you can see some events actually from that container, you can see some logs from that container. Okay. So you can also go and you can run logs instead of ps, you can also run logs, and you can provide the container id here. Okay. Now these are all the troubleshooting step, right? What I'm showing you is all troubleshooting step, how to act, how to work with docker, because every application has its own way of working. Correct. When you run on a virtual machine, or you create any software, or you run any script, everything demands some kind of a configuration you need to really do, and this is the configuration which you have really doing. Okay. Perfect. And then docker run, when we talk about docker run, this has also a lot of options when we talk about. So the first one is when you're talking about docker run, you need to provide the image name, that is important. Okay. So you will be provide the image name. You can also provide the docker container name. Okay, container name, by providing hyphen name, something like this. When you add these parameters, right, that is how you will really go ahead and do it. Now there is one more thing which you can really provide, and which is very important, is hyphen port, which is for port. Now as we understand that we have configure the port mapping here. So say like in case if your application is running on 80 port, 81 port, and you want to really map it with your 80 port, how you will gonna map? You are going to say on my local environment, on my host, okay, with my public IP address, it should really connect something like this. So say like my public IP address is 172.10.10.0 colon 80, should really get connected with the internal container, because I'm going to mention the container name also here, okay, or a container ID automatically get assigned this container to really receive internally in 8080 internally with the container. So this is how you have to really provide. But here we don't have to provide the IP address, it automatically assign the IP address, we just have to provide the ports. So you say 80 colon 8080. If you have 81, then 81, and then maybe internally 80. 82 externally, internally 83. Like that way we will be creating, and I'll show you that how you can really do it, right? And then the final thing, there are more actually you can really add, but the final thing is hyphen D. Now what happens whenever you create a Docker container, automatically it try to log in inside that container. Like it will give you the command prompt or start giving you logs and everything. So we can really run a Docker container in a detached mode. Okay, this is a detached mode. In case if you do not run this, it will really get into that particular system. But if you run it with the D mode, then it will really give you the different mode. Okay. After that, definitely there are some commands which we have, which are mostly for creating the container. So it's like Docker build, okay, then tag, again Docker tag. So these are some of the commands. We will also see that how we can really do it. Docker tag, okay. We'll see this as we move on. Let's see. Let's go back to our portal. Now I have see this. I have this particular thing. I'll just make it a little bigger. Clear. So currently, if you see, I do not have any PS. If I run, I don't have anything. If I run Docker images, I don't have anything. Sorry, I don't have anything. Okay, no image, no container. Even though if I run Docker PS hyphen A, I cannot. I don't have anything. Now I want to really run this. So to run this particular command, as I mentioned, I first need to really pull a image, and then I can run this, or I can create a container. So I can say Docker create container and then maybe the name of that particular container. But what I can do, instead of that, I can just simply run that command. Run command will actually club two, three commands. It will club Docker pull, and it will also club Docker create container, because when you say container, you can say container and then create and everything. But with the run command, you can really simply do or use one command to execute all your things. As I mentioned, right, when you are trying to create a container, you should have a image available in your environment, correct? So what it is going to happen when you run the command, when you say Docker, so like if I just simply say Docker run, okay, and if I say the name of the or hyphen D is for detached mode, okay, I'm not going to show you detached mode right now, I'm going to show you later. First let's try to see how things really work out here. Docker run, and then I'm going to mention nginx here, which is a just a command or maybe the name of my image, and I'm going to say hyphen p, okay, hyphen p is the or maybe sorry, hyphen p is 80 on the local system and 80 in the inside system, and I'm going to give hyphen image, and then I'm going to say nginx, okay. So this is the command which I'm really going to execute. Now what I've given, Docker run hyphen p, just port enable hyphen image nginx, but I don't have this nginx image in my local environment, right? So it is going to automatically first pull it from the Docker. It will first check whether it is there in my local repository or not, or in my local image repository or not. Then it will say, no, I haven't found it. So what it is going to do, it was going to get that from the Docker Hub, it will download, and then it will run. If you provide something different here, some other image which is not available in Docker Hub, then it will simply give an error saying that I am not able to find this particular image, so I cannot really run this container. Let's see. I'll just enter. Let's see what is going to happen. Okay. Image. Oh, okay. 1 minute. I think we can just really provide the nginx also. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, I've just gave a name of Docker run -p 8080 is the port, nginx is the image name. What actually happened? It says the first command unable to find image nginx latest locally, right? It didn't really find out that particular thing. Then what it does it actually went and pull from library nginx. By default, it pulling from the library which is available in Docker Hub, and then it automatically downloaded. It pulled. After it pulled, it actually created this thing, and then it went ahead inside that particular container and started giving me an details for this one. Okay. Before this, I wanted to actually show you, but I missed that part. But let's see, no problem. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you the IP address which I had. Okay, this is my VM, and I'm going to copy this IP address, the one which I have. I have a public IP address, and I'm going to post it here, and I say enter. Okay, I can see my application is running on this one. What I did, I just ran the Docker. I enabled that on the 81 port, and I can really see that particular thing is up and running in my environment, and I can access it externally using the IP address because that port mapping is already done. Okay, go back. Now here, if you see, right, it is giving me all this errors and all this application that I'm trying to connect using this one. It is giving me some more information that I'm connecting from Chrome and Mozilla and which operating system, how I'm really trying to connect. Am I getting an error or something like that? So everything it is giving me. Okay, why? Because I haven't really provided a detachable mode. I really logged into the logging mode of that particular Docker instance, and I started getting some information. If I want to come out of this, I just have to simply say Control C. So it will exit that particular process and it will come out. But if I run again Docker PS, okay, I can see this particular thing is got exited, okay, and it really deleted that particular thing. Let me see one more time why it is deleted one more thing. Okay, so it says it's exited because I have actually exited in particular thing. If I go back and if I refresh, okay, still I can really access this particular application. But why it is saying 2 minute ago agree accept it, right? So this is something which we can really do. Now what I'm going to do here, because it I guess failed. 1 minute. Ideally, yeah, it failed, right? Because it came out, I came out from that particular instance, and it kind of like failed to really get that particular instance because it stopped that instance the moment I came back, because I ran that without the detachable mode. And with the detached mode, actually when I logged in, it automatically enabled and everything is was running. But then the moment I really connected, tried to connect that, or I came out of that particular instance, it kind of like killed that instance. That I don't want, right? Every time, because I'm going to create a new thing, I don't want to kill that particular instance. I want to make sure that instances keep on running. So what I can do, I can really recreate this with the D option. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to add a -d here. Now this time it will not allow me to really create that. Why? Let's see. Okay, not after D here, it should be here. Now it really ran. Let's see Docker PS, and then yeah, I can it actually allowed me to really create because it already exited. If it is in a stop or some other state, then it will not really allow me. Now let's go back and again refresh this one. It's not connecting because the mapping is, I believe it's really configured. You have already given this mapping to some other application, and that's where it might not be really getting this particular thing. So what I have to really do, I have to delete this particular container which was really in a failed state. So I can go ahead and I can really delete this first, so my this particular container can really be get accessed onto this 80 port. Let's try that. So docker rm, and I'm going to give this container id. Can you see, this is the running one? I can copy this container id and I can just paste it here and I can just say enter. Now if I type docker ps hyphen a, I can see, oh, I did not delete. Okay, try to create anything. Okay, so docker, I tried to create another one, that's why docker rm, and then I'm going to delete this one. Okay, docker ps. Okay, I can see now only one container which is running, which is, I just kind of like up this one. And how I really deleted that one, I just provided the rm and then the id of my container, the container id what I have, right? In case if I refresh now, you should see my application. Okay, it's actually going to https. Don't have https here. Okay, so I can see my application which is coming up here. Perfect. Now say like if I'm already running the 80 port which is already there, if I try to run one more instance, but this time if I want to really run that on the same same 8080 port, it will not allow me because this is already running. There is already a port which is already mapped, and I try to again run one more container on the same port. Internally it is 80 port, but here externally it's same the 80 port which I have. Let's see, it will say no, it is not possible. Why? Because the port is already allocated. So that is already taken care by excuse me, it's already taken care by the docker, and it is automatically checking that how many ports I have already assigned. So it is not going to really map those particular port here, right? So for that what I have to do is that I have to change this into 81 here. Before that, let me see in case if it tried to do anything here. So I'll say ps hyphen a. I can see it tried to create it, okay, this one, but it really failed. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say docker rm, delete this one because it's like it says created, but I don't think it's got created. I'm going to delete this. Docker ps hyphen a. I have only one. Now I'm going to run it 81 here. Perfect. Okay. So now let me go back. So we have this one. I'll just say docker ps hyphen a. I have now two instances, right? One is running on 80, another one is 81, sorry, and then another one is running on 80 here. Now let me go back. I'll just copy this code. I'll put it here and I'll change the IP address from HTTP 80 to 81. Do you think I'll be able to connect it? What's your view? Anyone? Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Able to hear you.
Okay. So what do you think? It will connect or not on 81 port?
it will connect.
It will
Yes.
connect. Okay. Let's see. Okay, it's not connecting. What is the reason? We have missed one step here, right? If you remember here, we have missed one step inside this one. NSG, right? So if you remember, when I say that by default only 80 port is allowed and 22 is something which we have allowed just to connect to that host. But apart from 80, I haven't really allowed anything, any other port. 81, 82, 83 and all those things. And here I am trying to connect on 81 port.
Because I'm trying to connect on 81 port, it will not allow me to connect because it's stopping me. How can I change that? So for that we need to go to again our virtual machine. Okay, there is a option here, network settings, and I think we have already seen this when we try to block it to certain IP addresses like SSH or HTTP and all those things, right? Now inside this one I need to create one rule inside my network security group. So there is a by default set network security group which got attached to my virtual machine. And this rule is saying that I can only connect SSH and HTTP, and internally everything is allowed. So if you see allowed VNet, so VNet to VNet is all allowed. Load balancer to within the load balancer is all allowed. Deny all inbound. By default, deny all inbound. By default, the rule is deny all. And you cannot really change or delete these rules. And you see this? By default, everything is disabled. But there are few things allowed. So it's like you have closed the doors. First of all, the door is always closed. But if you have a key, then you can get enter. But that key is given to only few people, not everybody else, right? So if you want to really allow get inside, you need to have that key, or you are allowed. Otherwise, you definitely will get blocked by security guards. And this is a security guard. Now here I have explicitly mentioned that I can allow SSH and I can allow HTTP. Okay, and that HTTP only port 80, not anything else. I can change this rule or I can create a new rule. Whatever I want, I can really go ahead with that one. So instead of changing this rule, why I'm actually changing this rule? Because I can really provide multiple ports here, right? Destination ports, whatever I really want, I can go with that one. So I can change either this particular port or I can delete this and I can recreate another one. So let's show me, I'll show you how you can recreate. Create a new port here, inbound port. Inbound is like you are getting inside the code, inside the application, right? It's inbound. Someone is trying to connect from externally to internally, and outbound is like from internally to externally. You're trying to outbound, you want to go out, or you are allowing in. It's a difference. So I'm going to create an inbound port rule here. Now once I have, I can really give a specific source. Like for example, I can give only my IP address, or I can allow anyone who could really to access my application. I can kind of like connect that one with the source there. I can provide specific IP address range. So if I have multiple people who wants to trying to connect to this virtual machine, right, or sorry, this application, so I can really allow. In a production environment, definitely you will allow everybody with the HTTP only, not anything else. Only HTTP, like the way which is allowed right now. Source port you can really mention. I will start with anything. Destination is also you can mention a specific destination that you can only go with this particular IP address or service tag application that you can really align. For now, I'm just putting up any. Custom is service fine. Here is the custom destination port. Now the good part about this port is that you can actually provide only one port, or you can provide comma for another port. So you can go like this 81, 82, comma 83, comma 84. That is also accepted. Good. Or you can give a range. So the range could be something like from 81, because 80 is already allowed, to 90. 81 to 90. I can give 9,000. I can give 900. I can give 800 to 900. Anything what I want, I can really provide at this one, because I am going to expose my application on these ports 80 to 90. So open only 80 to 90 ports for this one. And then protocol. Any protocol. Generally it goes with TCP protocol. Okay, but I'm just allowing anyone. Now here, what you want. Now all these actions you can also allow, or you can disallow, deny. You can explicitly mention that nobody should really connect to 81 and 80 port and port. Simple, period. Or from this IP address range, nobody should be able to connect. Or this particular IP should not be able to connect. So you can really live, you can allow or disallow whatever you want. I am saying allow, and we are going to this particular thing. Name is it already given, all allow custom 81 to 90 port, it automatically taken that one, and I'm going to add it. The moment it got added, it's pretty fast, right? It's quite fast. So it's now allowed. I'll go back and I'll try to refresh my code, my application. Yep. Now I'm able to connect. So welcome to Nginx. On 81 port, I'm able to connect. Perfect. Now let's me go back again here. And now as I can see here, I have two applications which are running. One is on 81 port, another one is on 80 port. Now say like in case if I want to do something and I want to stop this particular uh, container, right? I don't want to really show it this one. I can just go, or I can maybe I'll show you how we can really run multiple containers. Let me show you that. So I can go ahead, I can create one more here. I can create one more here, 82, 83. And you can see how quickly it is creating, right? How quickly it is happening here. Everything is very fast. Now, if I copy this, if I go back, if I put up here, if I say 82, I should get immediately, like just a few seconds, and I should be able to run up and running. I can put up here, I can see here 83, sorry, 83, and my application is running. Now, all these applications you can see, right? All these are different applications. They are not one. They are different applications, though they are looking like one, but they are different. I can run Java, .NET, Python, Node.js, any other application, different application onto different Docker containers. And you can see, imagine how quickly it is really happening. So the way it is downloading, running, and quickly up and running, it's like a seconds. And that's why people really like this container technology, because it's very fast. Okay. Now in case if I go back and if I want to show you that, okay, I have few containers now. Like if I go with Docker ps -a, or if I just run Docker ps, it will all show me all the containers which are really running in state, right? So I'm going to stop this 81 port container and I'm show you the difference between your Docker ps and Docker -ps. I'm going to say stop, and I'm going to just take this one and I'll just paste it here. So it stopped. Now if I go back and if I just say Docker ps, I can see only three containers: 83, 82, 80. 81 is not there. So let me go back and refresh. Let's see in case if I can really see this. No, I cannot now access the container because it's container. This container is not kind of like not running. Simple. Now if I want to see the container details, I can just simply run the command is like all. Now I can see that, okay, this is the particular application which is there. I can really see the container details, and this is the container which is kind of like in a stopped and it exit state, kind of like stop state. What I can do is I can go back and I can start that container, and I can just give a id for this container, and then I can just say start. The moment I come back and I refresh, you can see how quickly it came back. Just a second, right? Like I've started and here I can just simply see that application. So that's the kind of like a speed we can really talk about. Now here I can also see some logs. In case if I want to really see some details about the application, that okay, what is really happening within that particular application, I can also see some logs. So to see the logs, what I can really do is Docker, because we have exited that format. I can see logs. I can go back here. I can just copy this and I can paste it here. And let's see in case if I can see logs here. Yes, I can see all the logs which are really happening. Now logs are very important. Why? Because to debug your application, that how your application is really working, what is the issues, in case if you have any problems within that container, you can really see that particular thing. That important. Okay. Now there is one more thing which I want to show you, and then we will wrap up for today. It's like Docker ps, I can see here, and there are names actually which are really assigned here. Now what the problem is, you can either connect your container using a container ID, which is the best way if you ask me, but there is also a common name you can really create, because say like in case if you are running hundreds of containers, right? Again going with the container ID and everything, and then the grouping is also not possible. Okay, so here it will automatically assign some, you know, random names, random names of people actually, which will really get added to here. Okay, like Pendatic Bengali, Confident Shockley. Now I don't know Johnson, right? Eager Johnson, Bold Mudrock. So they give some name, and that name actually get assigned randomly to your Docker image, or sorry, Docker container. So how can I really make sure this is there? Now one more thing which I wanted to show you is Docker images, right? Because we haven't seen that. And I showed you that first time when I've run, we were not having any image, but now I have one image. And this one image is actually running all these containers. Perfect. So I can really name this particular guy in a different way, the way I want. So I just have to make it, then when I'm running this particular command to create a container, okay, to run a container, I just have to say name here, hyphen name, and then I have to provide a name as or hyphen name, and I have to provide a name, say like web app one. I'm just giving. Now here, because I am having 83, I'm going to change it to 84. Let's see. Okay, now this time it created. Okay, now I'm going to run the same command. I'll just copy this command. I'll paste it here and I'll just run it. Now you can see the name is actually the one which I've given. Perfect. So I can also access that application on 84. One more thing which we can really do is that if I want to run some different applications or different image, because right now that image is not available. So whenever I'm running the command, right, if you see, right, when I ran this run command, it automatically started the container. It didn't say that, I haven't really found the image locally and then there is a problem or something like that, or it didn't really download anything, because the image which I mentioned, it's already there. Now let me change this image name and let's see what is going to happen. So say like in case if I run a Docker, again name should be different. So like Docker name web app 2. I'm just going to give this name hyphen D, which is very important, hyphen P, sorry, space hyphen P, and this time I'm going to give 85 and 80 as a port because everything is running, and then I'm going to change the name. They change the application here, HTTP or STD, sorry, HTTPD. Okay, HTTPD is also another Apache Tomcat. Actually, you can say Apache Tomcat web application or a web server like Nginx. So Nginx is popular, but HTTPD is also very popular. A lot of companies, a lot of people actually use. So HTTPD, not HTTP triple D. HTTPD. Okay, so HTTPD you can really have, and you can really go ahead and create it. Let's see, enter. As you can see here, because it was not having this HTTPD locally, it downloaded that instance, and then it kind of like created that, and then finally it gave me the details about that one. Now if I run first of all Docker images, now you can see this time when I ran, I've got only one ID. This time I've got two, right? Nginx and HTTPD. Now if I run Docker PS, I can see how many, six actually, which are running on like 80, 81, all the six, and quickly is running six different applications running on one Docker host. Okay, and then again everyone is running on a different IP address. Let me go back here, copy this, put it in a new tab and change it to 85. This is a different one, right? Because we are getting a different UI here, or a different kind of a response here. So that's where we can claim that, okay, yes, everything is a different application here. Whatever I'm running, it's all different. So far with me, guys? Any questions? Okay. One more thing is Docker Hub. And when I talk about all these images, whatever we are really taking, right? Where it is taking from? It is taking from this particular hub.docker.com website. So this website is very important. Tomorrow we are going to see how we can really log into website, how to access this website. And here, all the images you can see, right? You have a library here. You can go to explore and you can see all the images which are really there. and they have millions of images, millions of, literally millions of images, and they will give you that how people are really using. So you have an image for nginx, you have an image for alpine, busybox, ubuntu, redis, python, bunch of them, and you can see that how many times it got downloaded. 1 billion plus times, 1 billion plus times, like 100 crores, more than 100 crore times it got downloaded. Okay, so you can see all the images whatever you have, everything httpd, like this is the one which we just used. MongoDB, MySQL, traffic, RabbitMQ, Docker, MariaDB, Hello World, all these images are actually there. So if I click on Hello World, what is this? This is kind of like again giving me some response, and then it is using for something. How can I really use it? I can use this just like a Hello World. Docker pull hello world, and I can really use it. What is the information about this one? It is giving me all this information, that how you can really run this and how you can really access this application. Okay, so we are going to see how we can really connect with this Docker Hub, because right now I'm showing you only to pull the image. How can I really push the image? How can I really use this Docker Hub to save my images? Because right now if I try to push, it will not allow me to do anything, because when I'm pushing it, I don't have a access to push, because it's a publicly access only for downloading, not for uploading. For uploading, I need to log in, I need to create my own account, and I can only push it to my account, like the way we are doing for GitHub, right? You can only push it to your own account and the own your own your own repositories. Exactly the same way we need to really do. You have to create account, and then you have to push that account, and we'll see that tomorrow. Okay, guys.
Okay, sir.
Perfect. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much. Keep practicing. Install this one, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.